I always listened to my mom, as she was always telling me to take my vitamins. After my dad disappeared, my mom and I lived together all this time. When I was helping her with laundry, I saw that her clothes were different from mine, especially the blue jeans and t-shirts I wore. I don't know why, but I couldn't help but linger on her closet and think about how much her closet had changed. It looked and felt very beautiful and had a very delicate texture when I was in the bathroom taking a bath. I couldn't help but notice her stockings. Hanging from the shower rod, she tried to explain that it was a woman's thing when I asked her about the significance of the run on her stockings and why there were no runs on my socks. So one day I made the decision to look in her dresser drawer and inquire about her events. I decided to look in her dresser one day, and the events that happened after that changed the course of my life. Everything was very silky and supple and had a very pleasant smell. I decided that I would go back to that dresser as soon as I had the opportunity. When I got home from school at 3 o'clock, I felt that I had an opportunity. Because my mother was at work, I took a few things out of the linen drawer, trying to keep track of where everything was stored and how it was folded. There were things made of silk and also made of silk. There were things made of silk, as well as other articles of clothing that seemed tight and elastic to the touch for some inexplicable reason. I decided to put on one of the stretchy things that had legs. I struggled to put it on, but eventually I managed it, which was nice, but also very strange that the space between my groin and my thighs seemed cramped. But otherwise I was in a great mood, because I was so taken by the scent of her perfume that I accidentally opened the bottle and smeared it on myself. I don't know how much time I spent just enjoying my feelings and experiences when suddenly I heard someone come through the door. It was my mom who did it, while I was in her bedroom wearing her belt. The air smelled strongly of her perfume. I had a hard time reversing what I had already done. I ended up on her bedroom floor with her belt wrapped around my ankles as I tried to do it. I found myself on her bedroom floor with her belt wrapped around my ankles as I tried to get under the bed. I had no way of knowing what she was thinking, judging by the look on her face. I was naked, which made me feel ashamed, and I was scared. We didn't communicate while we ate macaroni and cheese. I was scared, but also excited by the feelings and emotions that came from my mother's dresser that particular day. I went to bed. There was silence for a year. A year later, I went to our garage and looked for some boxes. I went through them and discovered that they had accumulated so many belts, so many pairs of pants, skirts, blouses, bras, and all the other items associated with femininity that I was powerless to stop myself. When a rush of bliss swept over me, I got dressed again. It was the only thing that mattered, and I recognized my mother's voice in it. I made another attempt to hide behind some hiding place, and again my attempt to deceive you failed. This time my mother demanded that we talk. I was scared and embarrassed, thinking I might die or be punished. I confessed to her that I liked dressing up in her clothes. After that I cried, lay in bed and trembled. After that there was a silence that lasted about a week. Because she was my mother, I knew she loved me very much. I was 11 years old at the time. She informed me that I should start taking new vitamins. Soon after that, during breakfast, I followed protocol and continued eating my porridge. I put a lot of effort into my studies and was successful academically, but was not particularly good at sports. I continued to follow this regimen for the next 2 years. 6 months after the incident in the garage, I told my mother that I was experiencing some discomfort. I replied that it was in my chest. When she asked where it was, she carefully examined me while I was undressed, and she took off my shirt. The pain seemed to be coming from the chest area, and I believed I was feeling. She reassured me that everything would be fine and told me that it was a natural part of the growing up process due to a medical condition. I was not allowed to participate in physical education. While I was in middle school, I continued to be creative and put a lot of effort into my studies. But I couldn't understand why other boys seemed to be so obsessed with women. Although I got along well with most other women and even a few guys, I just didn't feel like I belonged. Even though I was often alone, I still made sure to take my vitamins along with other changes in society. Now it was the age when young men wore their hair long. There were other major changes happening in my life. A few guys were developing mustaches. But I didn't notice anything like that about myself. This time of year came once again gradually. I began to notice objects in the mirror. My jeans were too big for me. They were too big in the waist, making both my bottom and hips seem too big. My mother convinced me to keep my hair long because she thought it would look better. That's when I looked in the mirror and saw that not only did I have no chest hair, but my breasts appeared on my chest for the next 6 months. I couldn't deny it. I had bigger breasts than probably half the other women in my school. I also started having feelings for some guys that I found hard to realize these feelings were complicated. I also stayed close to some girls who told me that I tried to hide the fact that I was a girl who had been in a relationship with a girl who had been in a relationship with me for 6 months. I tried to hide what was becoming harder and harder to hide by wearing clothes that were too big for me, keeping my hair styled, and trying to figure out what it was. I didn't have much waist, my breasts were quite large, but because of the way my physique was arranged, the vast majority of people addressed me as Miss or young woman. I continued to take my vitamins, but realized it was time to talk to the only family member I've ever known, namely my mother, about my concerns and most personal emotions. My breast size increased. I lost weight in my waist, and overall my body was in a shape that many other ladies could wish for. I was drawn to boys, which both frightened and excited me because of the fact that other boys made fun of the fact that my voice was different from theirs. Seeking clarity, I consulted my mother. I did my duty and continued to take my vitamins as I had done before. She advised us to talk, so I would continue taking the vitamins, and said she had something to tell me. This was her lifelong dream. She couldn't even imagine having to raise a man. So she decided from the beginning that I would be her daughter. We sobbed together, and she told me, but she had a few surprises for me after that. A brand new dresser appeared in my previous bedroom. She asked me to open the drawers of the closet, which hid the cutest pajamas and the most comfortable nightgowns, and the top drawer was filled with hairpins and earrings. I sighed. I was thrilled, but I had no idea how to convey it. But I didn't know how to convey my emotions. I felt relieved inside, but then realized that it was high time we had a womanly conversation with each other. The conversation continued, where I shared all of my genuine worries and concerns. I made sure to take my vitamins before sitting down with my mom to hear about the latest exciting developments in her life. She shared with me that she was diligently saving money and had developed a relationship with an experienced physician. For the next 2 hours, I pondered my situation, sobbed, and went to the mirror many times. One option I thought about was to continue to live the boy I was born as, but the mirror told me otherwise. However, there remained the question of a certain part of my mother's anatomy that made it impossible for her to have a girl, or was it? When all the necessary preparations were made, I giddily checked into the clinic. I was drugged and then sedated. When I came to, everything was ready, and the nurse reassured me that everything had gone according to plan. There was no turning back now, as my mother had finally gotten the daughter she had always dreamed of. I recovered, and after that we went shopping together and even looked through a few catalogs. My reasoning was that more than half the population was female, and I didn't feel comfortable acting like a guy. And women tend to dress more sophisticated, wear perfume, adorn themselves with jewelry and necklaces, style their hair. It's a fun hobby of mine. I love being a woman. After my mother died, I contemplated a lesbian lifestyle, but either way I adore being loved, having my kissed and participating in experiences as a woman. It may be a little uncomfortable going to the bathroom in the desert or sitting on the toilet all the time, but I've learned to appreciate being stroked, lotioned, covered in lotion. I really appreciate being stroked, lotioned, and cuddled. The first time I went in there, I was nervous and a little uncomfortable, and I'm sure it's been that way with every girl. Believe it or not, one of the most delightful sensations I have now is when I walk past the bathroom mirror, look at myself, and then apply soap to my body. It's the experience my mom imagined her son or daughter enjoying years ago when she was pregnant with me.